All right. Says I'm live. Let me take a looky-loo, see if I'm actually live. Let's see. All right. There we go. I'm live. Hey guys. If you I can't see your names on the StreamYard thing. I think you have to like go to a different place, but anyway, I'll be able to see them later. So definitely comment with any questions that you have. I'm going to just like, this is going to be long. So honestly, feel free to come and go or leave your questions here. I'll still answer them at the end. But like, this is legit a presentation. I'm going to do the presentation and then answer any questions. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started, and I'll just let people filter in as they want. Like I said, don't feel like you have to stay or get it all. It'll be posted in the group as well. So hope you guys all had an awesome weekend. And over the past month, I have seen a lot of questions in this group and in other groups about hiring a pro and what you should be paying and what designers should be charging and how the process should work and on and on. And I've talked to people who have hired someone also that they have not been happy with, which is a huge bummer. I've also seen like some misinformation and completely like or incomplete, I guess, incomplete answers coming from some big names in the industry. So I actually did this presentation for Stacy St. John's STR Society group about a month ago. And if you weren't there or aren't a part of the STR Society, I just wanted to go ahead and do it again here for our own community. And I've actually added quite a bit too. So I'm going to answer all of the questions that everybody has about all of this. So if you have a question, drop it in the comments or save it for the end. And if I don't answer it during the presentation, then I will answer it then. And I'm also going to put the links to any resources that I mention here in the comments as well. So if you've ever or if you've never used or hired a designer before, then it may seem like just like one more challenge that needs to be overcome in getting to the finish line of launching your listing. But if you find the right person for your project, they will actually save you a ton of time and a ton of hassle. And when you find the right person, they're going to save you a lot of money too. And the results are just amazing. So just to briefly answer your question of like, who even is this person? If you do not know me, my name is Paige. I am an interior designer and I focus on STR design. I also teach STR design to DIY hosts. And I also teach designers who want to pivot to a short-term rental specialty or to virtual design. I've been doing this for over a decade and I've been through the trenches and I have had just about every terrible and wonderful client and project situation that you could imagine. I've done high-end full service design and high-end full service vacation rental design. And now I travel full time with my family. So I do exclusively virtual residential design and virtual STR design. And I've built up a lot of experience in the last decade. And while I'll never say that I'm a complete expert on any subject in life, since we all still learn every day. I can say that past mistakes have allowed me to create a pretty solid understanding of how important communication is in the designer and client relationship. So let's be honest here. Things are kind of still like a bit of a wild west in the STR industry in a lot of ways. And there's like a constant parade of people who are proclaiming themselves as experts in an environment that changes daily, and it can be really hard to vet them. So I think it's really important for people to be informed about their professionals that they hire for their projects so that you can make sure that you are making the best decision for your investments. And remember to take even the things that I say with a grain of salt and do your own research, because the internet is fake a lot of times. People can be fake. So it's important to take, accountability for your side of things and do your research as much as possible. So if you've ever thought about or looked into hiring a designer, it might seem a little bit daunting at first. And while you may know that you want to hire someone to help you create like an amazing scroll stopping property that you see like on Instagram or posted on, all these different places, um, you may also not have any idea how or where to start on doing that. And it can be really, really overwhelming when you already have a lot of overwhelming stuff going on. There are so many options when it comes to designers and billing structures and like in-person or virtual, reputation, specialty, on and on. And if you happen to be one of the people who like mentions in a Facebook group that you are looking for someone, you know that you're like about to just have your inbox blown up and people are going to be banging down your door and you're going to be getting messages and it's just a lot. And you may not even know then where to start on interviewing people. Or what to expect from the design process. And it's not just you, like it really is a lot. It's a lot. And to be honest, not everyone is reputable. And if you don't ask the right questions up front, it's possible that you may end up disappointed in the outcome, which is not where I want anyone to be. So I put together some information on all of this a while back, and I just would love to share it all again with you guys today and hopefully kind of help you get a little bit more comfortable with what you should be thinking and asking and looking at when you hire a designer. And I also want to help dispel any rumors or misinformation that might be floating around. So I'm also going to have this slide deck available later, as well as like, whatever resources I mentioned in the presentation. So what should you be looking for when you start browsing for a designer? A portfolio of past projects. That is big. First of all, you want to make sure that they actually have past projects. And if they don't, and they are just starting out, that might be fine. And you may decide to take a chance on them because they may offer a lower rate, but please do keep in mind that the level of service you get may reflect this. And that's not always the case. Like sometimes there are amazing designers and they just really want to get into this industry. So they may offer a lower rate in order to get projects, but it's something to keep in mind. If they don't have the past project experience, then your project may reflect that if they are learning on the job with your project. A website is great if they have one, but a lot of times designers can get really, really busy and not be great at updating our websites. And so while having one, like it does and can add a level of legitimacy, you also might want to pop over to Instagram for a more up-to-date idea of what they've been working on, because a lot of us as small business owners are required to also be content creators. So we create content because we have to, and we post it places like that because it's easier than updating a website. So if you see their work and love it, that is a great starting point. And there are a lot of hosts out there who do not start off as designers, but they've created amazing properties and they have started doing it for other people too. And this is totally cool because that means they have real life experience, real life STR experience. Listings make great portfolios. Also make sure to scrutinize the photos in a designer's portfolio to confirm that they are actual photos and not just renderings. An unfortunate thing that I have been seeing recently is designers filling their socials and websites with renderings that look real at first glance, but when you look closer, you can tell they are actually computer generated. And that means that they likely don't have any past projects to share. And that can be a huge red flag because because they're sharing it as if it's a real project or if it's a real photo. AI makes this insanely more difficult. So we can talk about that later if you have questions, but it's a challenge. Just keep your eyes open for it. Another great place to look is designer directories, and there aren't a ton of these around, but directories and lists and preferred vendors are a great way to start looking for a true pro. That's because you need to have some level of legitimacy to be included in these directories. Minoan, the discounted purchasing platform, has a designer directory that I get contacted through a lot. And it's nice for me because I know that the potential client is doing their research, but then it's also even nicer for the client because these directories do require at least some level of expertise to be involved. And in this group, things were getting a little bit crazy with random people popping in and representing themselves as pros when I would like go take a look at what they were doing, and no, they were not. They were not. So I recently implemented the Verified Designer program, and so only pros who have joined that program and submitted to me all of their credentials and testimonials, portfolios, all of it are allowed to promote their design services in our group. And it's still not a perfect system, but having some sort of system definitely helps. So in our group, anyone who has that group expert badge is part of the program. And we're actually I'm excited to say that we're gonna have our own directory of these pros coming out really soon. And so we're gonna have like a designer directory that, everybody's been vetted and they're all people who are well respected and done past projects. And so I'm really hoping that that's going to be a great resource for group members here. The next thing to look for are referrals and testimonials. So there's a difference between the two. Testimonials are reviews and snippets that the designer will share on their own site or social media accounts. And these are really good because theoretically they are real reviews, and when designers share them, it means that they are proud of what their clients have to say about them, which is awesome. And referrals, though, are different, and they are extremely valuable. Referrals are something that comes from someone other than the designer themselves. So a great way to find a designer is to go on Facebook, Instagram, Airbnb, wherever really, and find properties that you absolutely love. If you see somewhere that's amazing, contact the host and find out who designed it. Sometimes you'll find out that the host did it themselves, but usually if it's an amazing standout property, it was professionally designed on at least some level, or the host is a designer. Referrals are where the gold comes from because someone else had a good experience. And it's good enough that they would want you to have that experience as well. Check with your friends, check with family, get on Facebook, and don't just ask for design help. Ask for referrals specifically. And if you see someone's name coming up a number of times, that's a good sign. You still need to do your due diligence though. It's just, I'll never stop disclaiming that like you need to do your research as well. So these are some things that you can ask yourself if you find yourself like in doubt during an initial search and interview of a designer. Does the designer seem like a real person? This one is a little bit tough to quantify, but let's use influencers just as an example. Influencers have lots of pretty and very heavily filtered pictures from their shiny lifestyles, but if you ever see outside of the frame, you see that it was all set up just for the photo to make it look like a shiny lifestyle when really it was just them trying to make you think that. So look for real photos, real people, and scrutinize them. I would like to emphasize this as well. Follower count means nothing. Just because someone has a strong social media following does not mean that they are a reliable professional. Please do your research. If you can, talk to their past clients. That's all. Ask yourself, do they seem knowledgeable about the process when you talk to them? Straightforward and preliminary conversations. If they tell you that your budget is unrealistic or your timeline won't work, it doesn't automatically mean that they are a bad designer that you shouldn't hire. It means they are being straightforward with you, and there is value in that. I mean, they shouldn't be like mean about it or anything, but it's actually a virtue. So STR designers do a lot of projects, and we know what things cost, and we know how long things take because we do it all day, every day. So while you don't have to take our word as gospel, if we give advice about a budget or amenities to add or when to launch or not to launch or like sage wisdom on your too short timeline, it might be worth thinking about is all I'm saying. Um, I guess like I guess my point is like if three designers tell you that your budget is too low or your timeline is too short, and then another says, no, it'll all be great, like we'll make it happen. I wouldn't necessarily just hire that fourth person because they promised you the sunshine and rainbows. It's not because they're way better at their job than everybody else, would be my guess. Um, The next are things that you are responsible to tell your designer about yourself and your property. So this is actually my own discovery questionnaire that I ask my potential clients up front, but like reversed. So your designer may ask you these things, but if they don't, make sure to make it known anyways. These are the kind of important upfront topics that can really affect the way a project plays out. So the success of your relationship with your designer can hinge on this information being forthcoming. If you talk about all the tricky subjects up front and you feel comfortable with their responses, the rest is going to come more naturally. So, make your preferred timeline clear if you have one. Be aware that good things take time. If your expectation is that someone will come next week and furnish your property and you'll be ready to launch the week after that, you are either going to be disappointed in the timeline or you're going to be disappointed in the quality of work. Or you could be happy with both of those things, but it's going to cost you money. A better way to handle some of this is to ask what's the quickest timeline you would suggest for this project. Like, I would love to launch by Christmas. Is that realistic? Or by Labor Day? Is that realistic? Then number two, tell them what you are looking for in your experience. Do you want someone to do all of the setup? Are you looking for virtual design only and you want to place the orders yourself? Are you going to be using a third party or a property manager for setup? These are all great things to discuss with your designer. If you have any strong ideas or opinions about the style or the function or the trajectory of the project, make it known up front. Don't tiptoe around. Don't be like, I'm really leaning on your expertise when in fact you have your own very specific ideas. You got to tell them. Will you be using the property yourself as well, or is it 100% an income property? These are all really good things to talk to your designer about. Keep an open dialogue about the budget. Designers do this all the time. We're familiar with what things cost, and we should be able to answer your questions. As designers, we should also be we should be super familiar with ways to save you money, which essentially allows you to get a higher quality finished product than you would have gotten if you didn't use a designer, or spend less money overall than you would have if you didn't use a designer. It happens all the time, every day. Literally every single project. I save my clients more than they spend on design fees in what they save on their furnishing and stocking. And I know that this is the case for the majority of other designers I know as well. And the last one is, if there is anything tricky you know about with the project that could potentially add a level of difficulty or time to things, talk about it. Get the designer's take on it. Don't try to minimize it. Don't try to hide it. If you're worried it might be a deal breaker, it's always best to get those things out in the open. The next part of this is the questions that you should be asking the designer when you interview them. Again, this is my discovery questionnaire, only backwards, but still, this is just stuff to cover. The number one question that you should be asking, if it's not already evident, is, have you designed and installed STR projects in the past? If the answer is no, I'm not saying it's a hard pass, but I am saying it's close. STR design is a totally different beast in terms of function and timeline and budget, and even what furniture materials should be used. And many residential designers, they are not prepared for the specifics of the industry if they haven't done STR design before. Again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't hire them. It doesn't mean that they won't do a good job or that they can't learn. It just means that they will be learning while they're doing your project, which is something you should know ahead of time. Ask, what is your rate structure and what will be included in that? And we're going to talk about rate structures in a few minutes. When and how are payments made? Is there a fee for certain payment methods? That can really add up if you are not expecting it. Do you get a commission on things that I purchase through you? You can ask them that. Don't ask how much, but it is okay to ask whether they do or don't get commissions. And just going to take a quick sec to chat about commissions. Commissions are very common in the design world. They are common in really every industry. Commissions, markups, wholesale, all of it. It is not shady and it is not weird for a designer to get commissions on things they sell. It's actually how we keep design fees down. Because if we had to charge you for all of our time, you would be paying a ton. You'd be paying a ton. So the nice thing is we can get a commission, doesn't add to your cost for anything. A lot of us can also get commissions and still get you discounts, still find you the best price, and we get a small commission and you're still saving money. So there's nothing shady about it. This is how it works. It's how it's always worked. And it's, again, you can ask the designer, do you get commissions? Totally fine. Ask them that. Okay, sorry, that was a tangent. Ask what deliverables do you offer? If you don't know what deliverables are, they are things like furniture layouts and design boards, plans, renderings, presentations, concepts, anything tangible that they give you that relates to the design. Ask, what does your process look like? What can I expect to hear from you during that process? What are the milestones of the process? How involved will I be? That is something really important if you want either a really hands-on or hands-off approach. What is I said that one. What happens if I don't like something when it's chosen? What happens if I don't like the end result? Hopefully that won't happen, but good to cover. What other projects have you worked on recently? What do you think of the style concepts that I have in mind? When can you start and what is the next step? Will you be doing all of the design work yourself or will you hire it out? How do you handle install? And if you are hiring a full service designer, ask about fees for travel, install, delivery, setup costs for additional labor, etc. Just like in any other part of life, if the price sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Things cost money. They cost what they cost. If you want the things in your property, you got to pay for the things in your property. So it's just a good thing to talk about up front. Okay, let's chat about design contracts. Got my Minecraft cup here. Having a contract in place is very important. This will dictate the terms of the project. And if you talk about something together, but you sign a contract to the contrary or a contract that doesn't include what you talked about, you will most likely be out of luck. The contract will, of course, be written to protect the designer, but it should also very clearly lay out the expectations, the fee structure, deliverables, markups, billing cycles, and what the designer takes responsibility for, the whole scope of work. It is not at all unreasonable to ask to review the contract ahead of time and ask any questions that you have about it. Feel free to do that. And if they don't want to share it, red flag. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure the contract is thorough, but not outrageous. So like, outrageous would be like a bowl of brown M&Ms backstage at a constant, precise temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So, it doesn't have to be minute detail, but make sure it's detailed enough that the scope is covered and everyone's responsibilities are covered. If there are any red flags, ask about them. Trust your gut and trust your gut on the response. Your designer should take your concerns seriously and not wave them away. If they are engaged and say they listen and they hear you out and they answer your questions thoughtfully and in detail, that's a good sign. If they're like, oh, we'll figure it all out, don't worry. Don't feel bad about asking follow-up questions. Get the answers that you are comfortable with and that you need. That's I always please do that. So how the money works and billing structure. This is a big one. So being totally real here, there are a lot of different ways that designers structure pricing and billing, and there is no right way to do it. Different people do what works for their business. And there are some practices, though, that are more standard than others. So I'm going to tell you what's more standard, and then I'm also going to tell you exactly what I do for my own projects so that you have a frame of reference. The most common billing methods for STR design and non-commercial design in general are flat rate and hourly billing. There are others, but they are definitely less common. So flat rate is a great option for STR furnishing projects or for projects with a clear-cut scope of work. It's a great way to get from point A to point Z on a well-defined trajectory. I love flat rate projects because my clients know what the design fees are going to cost, and they know what they are going to get for that amount. The flat rate refers to the design fees. It does not refer to the budget for the project in my business. Again, different people do things different ways. This is how I do it. So the flat rate is a flat design fee. You pay it, and then I provide the services. So it's all, anyway, so yeah, my clients, sorry, again, tangents. My clients know what they're going to get for the price. They know what it's going to cost. And it allows the process to move quickly and efficiently, which we all know is often imperative in our industry. So that said, if a client requests an additional services over and above what's included in their flat rate package, which the scope of is laid out in their contract, then I am available to help with that at my hourly billing rate, and I notify the client when and if that rate will become active. So basically, if they want something that's outside the scope of work that was originally agreed upon, it does cost extra. So it's all laid out in the contract, and my clients sign that prior to starting the project, so there's no confusion. What does a flat rate package cost? That 100% depends on what services you are receiving, and that is why things vary so much between designers. My flat rate packages are based on rooms. So I charge $600 per main room, $300 per smaller room without furniture. So like bathrooms, kitchens, that kind of thing. For a whole property furnish, I total up the number of rooms and I do a really solid bundle discount. And it usually ends up coming out to about $1,000 per bedroom for the whole house design. So like $3,000 design fee for a 3-bedroom project, unless there are additional areas that are added, like game rooms, multiple outdoor areas, etc. For that amount, my package includes going through my finding your property story process, which is a huge step towards determining your target guest and creating the promise of that experience for them. And then we just build the design off of that and tailor the experience to your guests. So that's the first part. It includes an initial hour consultation and project kickoff call to talk about my client's goals and vision for the property, and if they have anything specific that they want to see there. Then I do space planning and an overhead 2D layout for each room that has furniture. And then every single room gets a design board showing all of the items put together. I'm sure you've seen my design boards before. If not, they're all over in the group. But that's what the client gets for each space. And it shows every proposed furniture and decor item on the board in a presentation with the furniture layouts, along with a corresponding linked shopping list via Google Sheets. And that has the pricing, quantities, sizes, everything is itemized, as well as the links and the retail price, as well as the sale price or discounted purchasing platform price. So it's really easy for my clients to see how much they're saving off of retail, basically. Then there is a meeting where I present the design, walk client through everything. So another hour meeting one round of revisions to change out anything they would like to change out. Usually it's like, oh, like this rug isn't on sale anymore, or this chair is more expensive. Can we find something that's a little bit less? And then once the round of revisions is done, then they get a complete linked stocking list with all items to purchase for the property. So that includes information on all sizes, quantities, colors, every kitchen stocking item, your pizza cutter, your includes your mattresses. The mattresses are predetermined to have the correct height based on your nightstands, based on the slats. Like I take all of that into account, let you know what to buy, what sizes, colors, everything. So it's included, and a detailed install guide as well that allows the clients to make sure that the design is perfectly executed. So that's like, where does your rug go? How does the furniture go on top of it? Put this vase on this table, hang your art centered on this furniture piece at this height from the floor, just to make sure that like everybody knows how the design is going to work out so that you are successful in executing the design. I do virtual design, so there are no fees for install, travel, follow-up, shipping, or anything like that. And I do the design and then hand it off to my clients to order. And we're going to talk about kind of the differences between virtual and in-person design shortly as well. I bill my flat rate projects up front. So I know that might sound crazy, but I do it because I have been taken advantage of in the past by not doing it that way. With STR furnishing projects, things move so quickly and the deliverables are presented pretty much all at once. So the only way I can ensure that I will be paid for my time is to charge in full in order to begin the project. I am also able to do this because I have built a strong reputation on following through for my clients, but it's not unreasonable for your designer to ask for money up front because we put in a ton of work all at once, especially on quick furnishing projects. Let's see. So all that said, it is important to do what you feel comfortable with. Again, to reiterate, no matter who you hire, make sure you're comfortable with the process, the contract, pricing, and payment schedule, and all of that. So hourly billing is the next one, and hourly billing is really helpful for projects where the scope is still developing or not established, or the client wants to have a level of involvement that will require an undetermined amount of time or work or revisions, meetings, follow-up. If you don't want to hand over the reins to somebody else, hourly billing can be a great option. So if you want to be involved, like hourly billing, great. If your designer is helping you with finish selection, project management, or anything over and above a clear scope of work, hourly billing, great option. What hourly billing means to me is that I am always able to be available for the client for whatever they need, whatever questions they have, and available for as much or as little as they need, rather than trying to put the project into a box and then either somebody, like, once you put it into a flat rate box, then if something goes outside of that box, then you either have to charge more for it, or you have to decide whether you want to like put a lot of effort into it or not, because you're not getting anything else for your time. So my hourly rate is $125 per hour. And I charge this for everything I do related to the project in 15-minute increments. I require a deposit at the time of contract signing. That's based on the size of the project, and the deposit is applied to the final bill at the end of the project. The hourly billing statements are invoiced at the beginning of each month for the previous month's time billing. I don't nickel and dime bill clients every little, I don't like bill them for every little back and forth message and email, but what I do bill for is the time that we spend on calls, the time that I spend sourcing, space planning, troubleshooting, answering questions that require me to refer to plans or look things up. If I have ideas and I propose them and they don't work out, or if I find something and then it's not available or something like that, I don't bill for that time. If it's on me that something isn't going to be put into the property, then I don't bill for that. Hourly billing also allows the project to pick up or end at any time. So there's no commitment other than to pay for any outstanding billing or time that's already been completed. There are also other types of billing structures that designers use, but they are not super common in STR design. So if someone offers a budget percentage or square footage based quote, definitely do your research on the designer and the design firm and review the contract thoroughly and make sure it is extensive and covers the scope of work in depth, as well as any travel, install, and additional contractor costs, and who is going to be responsible for those. These types of billing are more common when the designer is also acting as a GC, like a general, as the contractor for the job, and project managing. And if they are doing that, they should have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, and they should be licensed, and they should also be providing everything themselves, and that should all be very well accounted for in the project, or I mean, in the contract. I'm not saying like that it's the wrong way to do it. I'm just saying that it's not as common. So please do your research on that. Different types of design. So there's virtual and there is in-person design, and then there are like hybrids. In virtual design, the designer doesn't see the property, and in most cases, they do space planning and design boards and provide a shopping list. And then the client uses that list to make all of the purchases themselves and also to facilitate the install. So a lot of times virtual design doesn't cost as much for design fees as in-person design. And there's a reason for that. In-person design, the designer goes to the property, they measure, they do everything, they source everything, they buy everything, they follow up on shipping and receiving, and they facilitate the install and the setup. And they will then invoice the client for all of those items. So it's a lot more involved. They are doing half of it for you, basically. So then hybrid. There are a lot of hybrids. There's no definition of hybrid, but there are enough of the hybrid models out there that needs to be covered. So some virtual designers, myself included, work with partners who will facilitate the logistics of ordering and install and setup. And they will help to create a turnkey experience. So it is more of a full service thing, but it's still a hybrid. And then some in-person designers will also offer different levels of service depending on their packages and their level of experience. Some virtual designers will travel to the property and facilitate the install themselves. So there are a ton of ways to do it, which is actually great because every project requires something different. And depending if you are a remote host or if you are local to your property, the level of service you need, like it's great that you have options. It's just knowing like which options are going to work best, really. I guess my best advice is that unless you have a plan already, find a designer who comes highly recommended by people that you actually know, and then communicate with them and talk about the process. And remember though, again, if you want someone to do everything for you, that costs money. It all costs money. It's people's time. It costs money. So that is a good segue into budget. Budget is like the trickiest thing ever, folks. I hesitate to ever really try and quantify it or state on the internet what budget should be because it's based on so many factors. What one person considers all in, another person may not. And that's why, like, when somebody says, what does it cost you? What did it cost you to furnish your 3-2? And people are like, oh, it cost me $8,000. And then other people are like, it cost me $120,000. Like, it's not because they got the same stuff, or it's not like because one person was just way better at finding deals. Like, there are just so many different things to take into account. So like, is it just the furniture and the decor? What does furniture and decor even include? Or is it like all of your stocking items as well? Your mattresses, your TVs, your tech, your hot tub, your outdoor items, your smart locks. Is it your silverware and your kitchen gadgets and your small appliances? Does it include install and setup? Like, what is all in? Does it include property improvements like painting, adding accent walls, your hot tub? um, does it include design fees and travel? So you can see, like, it's just, there are so many moving parts of budget, and where your property is located and what your target nightly rate is going to be, who your guests are, those things all determine budget as well. So it's not ever just some, it really, I shouldn't say it isn't, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like an arbitrary number that you just like make up in your head. In order to create the most successfully design and the most successful investment, there really is like a correct budget. And you can get around this in some different ways, and your designer can help you get around this in some different ways by saving money on things and using discounted purchasing platforms like Minoan. But there's still going to be like a certain level of thing and furnishing and decor and stocking items that you will need if you want your property to be successful, depending on its location. Your designer should be able to help you with that. Again, we do this all the time, and we know what things cost. So again, happy to answer any other questions about budget. I know it's tricky. So finally, remember that you get what you pay for. This is true. It is true. It is true. It's true. If someone tells you they can furnish your house for half of what everyone else told you, it's not usually because they are just better at what they do than everyone else. So some people have a great eye, and they can grab fill-in items from places like Marketplace and thrift stores. There's a lot of good stuff there. I put a ton of stuff like that in my designs when I can find it. If not, I'm sourcing from like Etsy or places like that that have great like used items. But the whole, like, you can't, it's really hard to do a whole property from Marketplace. And it's really hard. Some great designers can do it. Some people have a great eye, they can do it. But in general, is like a rule is if you give someone a budget of under $10,000 to furnish, decorate, and stock a multi-bedroom property with outdoor spaces, and you also pay them from that budget, your finished product is going to reflect that. So if you have a low budget, hiring a designer may not always be your best course of action. Because again, that's going to take money out of your budget. So while there didn't used to be, there are now a lot of different resources available for hosts when it comes to design and those other avenues. Like, there are courses. I have a course. There are other courses out there as well that will teach you how to do it yourself. And a lot of designers offer consulting as well now. So you're not paying a full design fee, but they will get on Zoom. It's something I do. We'll get on Zoom and we can just talk through everything, like screen share, go through your property and talk through your plan, make a plan for you. And I'll give some like suggestions on where to look for things. So there are some different avenues if you have a low budget and you still want an awesome property. Like, it's possible, but just hiring a designer may not be the best way to go. And in terms of design fees, to be totally honest, like, none of us are cleaning up. Like, designers, we're not like rich driving Lamborghinis. If you've done this before, then you know how long it takes to find every single item for a property, and to create a property that stands out and will be a successful investment and be unique and appeal to guests takes even longer. We are not like magicians. We do have experience, so maybe we're a little bit faster at it than anyone who doesn't. But honestly, a number of designers end up making like literally around minimum wage off of design fees. And I honestly, like, I can't understate the value of paying pros what they are worth. If you don't have a problem with paying a coach or for a mastermind, then you shouldn't have a problem paying your designer. They are the ones who are personally taking responsibility for the outcome of your investment. So it is not unreasonable to pay them as such. And it is, it's not ethical for designers on our end. It's not ethical for us to promise any clients the moon and the stars and then deliver them glow in the dark stickers, but it's also very much on you as a property owner to do your due diligence and to inform yourself as much as possible beforehand. And that's why I will just reiterate and just shout from the rooftops the importance of communication and just talking things through and having stuff in writing until I die. The vast majority of short-term rental designers are here because we love creating beautiful spaces and we love what we do. We love the community and we love helping our clients and we stand behind our work. So grab one of us and we will help you out. That is it. I hope this puts it out all on the table and helps save you some trouble in the future. I am just one designer out of a lot of well-respected pros in our industry. And there are so many great ones out there who would be perfect for your project. So you just need to know the right questions to ask. And I am happy to answer any questions here now, but I am also always very willing to have a chat anytime a question comes up in your mind. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out to me whenever. But if you have questions, ask them now so that other people can see the answers if I missed anything. See one question here. Do you also charge an hourly rate for the Zoom call consult? Yes, I do. The Zoom call is $250 for 1 hour. And it's honestly, it sounds like a lot for an hour, but I have to say that if you are going to be doing things on your own, it is like the best bang for your buck that you can get in professional design because there's like no gatekeeping. Like we can get through, depending on the property size, almost a whole property and talk about layouts and, theming and style and your story and all of these things. We can really move through it in an hour and get you like a great plan and a lot of ideas and a good direction to move in. So it's definitely helpful if you are going to be doing things yourself, or you may not have the budget for a designer, but you do want some help kind of pulling things together. So we can do it like at the beginning of your project or at the end, just to, again, like pull it all together. And I know a lot of other designers offer this as well. Let's see, do we have any other questions? I realize this was super long. Thanks for anyone who has hung in here. Drop your questions here in the comments. No, thanks. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna just like hang here for a few more minutes and just wait, see if anybody comes up with questions. Oh, what state am I in? Good question. Colorado. I'm in Colorado right now. We are planning on going, I think, to South Dakota in a few weeks, and then we'll be back to Colorado, and then we're gonna do I believe we're gonna do the East Coast in the fall, and then thanks. Then head down the coast, and I think we're gonna do a couple months in Florida. I booked us a 50-foot sailboat to stay on for a month in January in Florida. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited about it, but also not sure. I think it's gonna be cool. Then we're going to Panama in February. Yeah, it is awesome. I'm excited about it. We've been here in Colorado for a few months, so I'm definitely ready to get on the road again. All right, I'm gonna leave it still a couple more minutes. Feel free to go if you want to. Okay, here we go. Do I prefer virtual design or do I love a good start to finish in person? Personally, I love virtual design, and I love it especially for short-term rental design because it allows me, first of all, to do projects because I travel full time, and I don't travel for design. Like I travel with my entire family. So it allows me to do projects from wherever I am, but it also allows me to do projects anywhere else. And the nice thing for clients about virtual is that it doesn't cost as much. So if you have resources to do the install and setup yourself, then you don't have to pay as much in design fees. I mean, to be totally honest, like unless you can do all of the work yourself and that's what you want to do, if you're hoping to like pay somebody else to do the install, like a property manager or movers or something, it's probably going to end up about the same. But I love virtual design. I love kind of just putting everything together and then handing it off to the clients. I'm always there for support, and I definitely make sure that they have all of the information needed to execute the design, because obviously it's important. It's important to me that if something has my name on it, that it is done well. So I make sure that I am a support system for that. But it works out well being able also to have the clients see everything itemized on the Google Sheet, place the orders. That works well for them as far as like reordering in the future and knowing like the actual value of things for taxes and stuff, which if your in-person designer is reselling stuff to you, they will be able to provide you those things. Like they should be invoicing you and they should, if they are marking anything up, then they should be adding sales tax to that. And you should be getting itemized invoices with exactly what you purchased and exactly how much it cost you and the sales tax on that. And it should show that you paid it and when. So the idea that it's a weird or shady practice or that like it's not good for recording your records or anything like that is not correct. It's a totally fine way to do things. But again, STR design seems to lend itself a little bit more to the method of just having the client order everything themselves, or if the designer does it, then they just like provide the receipts and don't mark it up, which is the bummer for the designer because they are missing out on income there. So anyway, that's my take on it. Measurements. Do you have your client do measurements to the quarter inch, or how particular do you get? Great question. Again, my full service background, starting out in virtual design, made this a little bit difficult because I was like, what about all the tiny details? And for renovation projects that I do remotely, I definitely do require more detailed dimensions. But for furnishing projects, it does not have to be to the quarter inch by any means. And I do have methods for getting those dimensions remotely if clients want to do that. And it is something that we talk about a lot in my virtual designers inner circle group. So if you're a designer and you want those kind of resources, let me know. And you can just Google it. It's Virtual Designers Inner Circle, and would love to have you guys in there. And that has tons of resources for designers. So if you're a designer and you want to do it, definitely get in touch with me or check it out. We would love to have you in the community. But I don't get terribly specific on furnishing jobs. I have a method for getting those dimensions remotely without having to have somebody go in with a tape measure, specifically the owner, because that really gets cumbersome for them. People don't really care to do that, and they don't always have the means to do it, and they may not always do it correctly. So if you can avoid having to do manual measuring, that is ideal. And if not, I also have downloads and instructional information for my clients on how to do it and what information I need. But usually like within a couple of inches is fine for our purposes. Awesome, you guys. If any other questions do come up, again, totally happy to answer them. Put them in the comments and I will respond when I can. This was hopefully helpful. And I just think that designers are great. We all know how important design is, and everybody knows that. All the big names know that, but it's really, I think it's critical to just kind of know who you're hiring and what they can do for you, and just the power of design. I guess that's all. Have a great day.